In business, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's no stagnant business. Because my goal is just not to meet the expectation. My goal is to exceed the expectation.
If you're going to wait 3 weeks to fix a metric that is red, then we're losing the game. We're behind the game.
What happens is we have maybe 1 to 2 people who are focused on everything, and then, some things don't get the attention that they might need.
Yeah, it's really 3 things. It's focus. Second is apply action. And third is...
Welcome to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez, COO of 5, 7 to 8 figure businesses with Ryan Pineda. On the Wealthy Business Podcast, we talk about all things scaling, hiring, operations, get into the nitty gritty on how to grow your business. Today, I am with Gary and Susan Harper, who are the masterminds behind the Wealthy Business Program. They've been our business coaches since 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
And so they are instrumental in the growth that we've seen in Pineda Company, and super excited to have them on the show. So hello, welcome.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate you having us on. And actually, I get ready to do one of those sessions today with you guys.
Yep. So right after this podcast, we are actually going to go, do all of our quarterly planning. We sit down with them every quarter. They break down our businesses. They help us see things that we might not have seen, and also just set us up for success. So before we get deep into that, tell us kind of how both of you got here.
Well, I appreciate you having us on. I'm excited about working with you guys today. It's to help people become both healthy and smart in their company. And obviously Ryan is extremely intelligent, and he hasn't slowed that process down with hiring you guys either, right? Like he's put some really smart people around him. I always say successful people surround themselves with successful people. And Javier, you're one of, you're very, very intelligent, and I appreciate you allowing us to coach you and be a part of this whole thing. But Sharper started years ago, 2015. The concept was created 2016. We really started working hard at it. We've now worked with over 1,700 businesses in the not just real estate, but in business in general. I say majority of our clients are real estate driven. And I say driven because they're not always real estate investors. But as you can tell, coming to the WealthCon event, you got people here that have multiple different types of niches, but they're all driven towards a real estate model in some way, whether it's saving taxes, creating passive or active income. So we work with a lot of different real estate minded people, and but doesn't mean they're always running a real estate niche business. And so we get the opportunity to work with all kinds of niches, which is really fun for us because it's not just pigeonholing it down into one thing. And people say, well, how can you be effective that way? And it's really because we're business agnostic, because our focus, our subject matter expertise, how do you run a business and not just do a deal. And so a lot of business coaches out there, especially in real estate, that tout as being a business coach, but in reality, they don't know how to coach a business. They know how to grow a real estate company.
Yes.
Right? And so there's a big difference between just running or growing a real estate investment business versus running a business. And I think it's interesting. We watch people even leave the real estate niche and start multiple other businesses. You guys aren't any different from that.
Yeah,
right?
And that's why I'm smiling thinking about what you're saying, because when transitioning from how we run Home Run Offer to now how we run the Wealthy Brands or how we run Pineda Media, it's so different across the board. But I mean, there are the same business principles, but real estate, those businesses are pretty straightforward almost, I would like to say, than versus, running an actual business.
Right.
So I
like Wealthy Media, we were just talking about that. And so it's still a business, right? And even though it's not real estate focused, it still focuses on the avatar of a lot of real estate investors, right? And so people that have an interest in real estate. But running a business is foundationally the same across the different types of businesses. KPIs will change. Structural will change just a little bit in different areas. Certifications, insurances, things like that can change from one niche to the other. But all in all, like running the structure, what the business operating system could be the same. So, and that's really where our focus is. So over the last 7 years, we've been working with different types of business owners. I was a corporate executive for many years until like 2011. I was in corporate America. Helping other businesses grow as well in an outsourcing type mindset. And then Susan and I, we did real estate from 1997 till today. I mean, actually I have my nephew with me this week. His name was Kyle Axton. He's 19 years old, and I've been mentoring him in how to do real estate. So it's been fun.
Yeah. Awesome. And then walk me through the transition. So you're working in corporate America. At what point are you like, you know what, I'm going to move on, do my own thing? Like what was the catalyst there?
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a choice of our own.
Yeah, it wasn't my choice, right? Like, I mean, I think there's times in life where you would never make the decision yourself, and God says, "I'm making it for you."
Yep.
And that's just one of those situations. Like, I got bit by a tick on the back of my neck and coaching my son's baseball game, and weeks later, only to find out that tick was infected with Lyme disease, and that Lyme disease permeated my body and actually went into my C5 and my C6 and got into the highway to my body really fast. And so where most people see mild symptoms with Lyme disease, mine got pretty severe pretty quick. And so I had infections in my brain. I had infections in my major organs. Like within 6 months, I was knocking on death's door. And so I had to step away from corporate America. Not from choice, just from necessity. Took me a good year just to recover and get healthy again.
Wow.
And I remember calling my brother-in-law, who was in real estate, full-time at this point. He was working with me in corporate America, same industry, same everything. And that industry kind of pushed him out through layoffs. And I was an executive, so I didn't really feel that same push. But he says, Gary, I don't think God took you out of that just to put you right back in it. And it was tough, Javier, because we went a year. I mean, I call our year of Job. Like, I lost from that year. It was 2010, 2011. Like, real estate wasn't very kind to us that year.
No, it's not kind to anyone.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and it definitely was not a respecter of people. And we lost everything. All our rental properties. Like, we ended up filing bankruptcy that year. It was tough for us. And so not just like did the business start, all the investments that we made, all the savings that we had, like it was gone. Like whether I used it to try to keep the rentals from going into foreclosure or to like keep my health alive, like I used up every dime we had. And we lost it all. I call it my year of Job. Had no money, no kid, no health, no job. Like all those things were gone. The nice thing is I still had my family. I still had people that cared about me and still stuck by me. But, we get to the other side of that year, and, like, my job is still there. They held on to my job for me because I won, like, Executive of the Year 8 out of 10 years.
Okay, nice.
So, like, they're waiting for me to come back.
They wanted you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even, like, drove out to Indiana and met us for breakfast because I wasn't able to drive, and they were, like, really trying to work a plan to bring me back, and I was committed to going back, and then my brother-in-law makes a statement to me. He's like, God didn't take you out of that, just put you right back in it. And I was like, shut up, bro. Like I don't want to hear that crap right now, right?
I was thinking, I would just like a paycheck right now.
Yeah.
I just need something coming in.
Yeah, because it's not like I was making a little bit of money. And obviously at this point, we haven't had a paycheck in a while. Investment paychecks or financial or, working paychecks. So, like, it was very attractive. My brother-in-law was like, hey, you've been passively investing for the last 10 years. Why don't you come join me in my active real estate company? And so it was interesting because I had all this years of experience building businesses and helping Fortune 500 companies. But like the transition into helping an entrepreneur build a business was very different.
In what way?
Well, I mean, you walk in and you're like, all right, give me your KPIs. I don't have KPIs. Well, then how do you make payroll? Well, we just sell another house. Okay, so what's your meeting structure? What are you talking about? Like when we have a problem, I walk in the door, knock on his door, and I talk to him. Like it's not there. The foundation isn't there.
Yes.
But in corporate America, you're building on foundation. Foundations is already established, right? So like you're working on like the next layer of that foundation in corporate America. You're not working on the foundation. And so it's very different. And so what I did was like, needing that foundation for an entrepreneurship, I actually got EOS certified. So I went to, that traction and got certified with them. And instantly it's like, all I needed was this operating system to take all these years of experience and give the foundations to it.
And really quick, what's EOS for people who
Entrepreneur
might not know?
Operating System.
Got it.
And so like started working with them and helping implement that. And I think I implemented, I lost count a long time ago. I think it was well over almost 500 times.
Wow.
And I still kept running into problems even with it. Like, it didn't have a financial component to it. It talks about processes, but it didn't really go into too depth, at least at the time when I was doing it, right? Like it had the 3-step process documenter, but that was it. Like it really didn't go much further than that. And so like I found my clients needing more. So I had to start augmenting things to bring them in. And then what happened was we started helping companies scale and grow, from our journey in real estate, we helped our company with my brother-in-law do over 1,200 deals.
Wow.
In 5 states. And it's not like a Gary Harper thing. It was a whole team, right? We had a whole team of people. But at the end of those 5 years with him, 6 years with him, I decided to go out and start helping other people. So 2016 rolls around, going full-time at this point. Susan was a teacher for 17 years. We decided that we're going to go travel the country. Kids were grown. We weren't leaving anybody at home by themselves really at that point. And so we get on the road. We started helping people, and it was organic growth from that point. Like, we didn't start doing any type of marketing. Our purpose is to do a good work that supports God's work. And so that's why I protect it, because if we don't do a good work, I don't want payment to give back to God's work.
Got it.
Because I got to protect that name, right? Like, how many people in this world do you see that do something, they do it in the name of Christ or name of God or the kingdom, and they don't protect it, right?
Yes.
And to a degree, I think a lot of people in this world, in business world, will look at it and go, like, it's almost a scam immediately every time they hear somebody use God's name. I think that's one of the things I like about Ryan. Ryan protects it.
Yes.
Yeah,
that, and with Wealthy Kingdom and all the things that we're trying to create for the community, I think, he's operated with such integrity in every step, even if we've made mistakes or if we've, had to pivot, and, he always operates with as much integrity as possible, which is one of the reasons why I came to work for him too, right? Because I always said, I will never work for a guru, right? Like, it's, the industry has so many negative actors, I guess is a good way to put it. And with Ryan, when I first joined his coaching program or got around him, I was like, wow, this guy is the same way he acts on social media in real life.
He really is.
Yeah.
He doesn't change.
It's
Everybody says, was it Ryan the same? Yeah, Ryan's the same way, right? Like, he doesn't change who he is. And I always refer to Ryan as everybody, I've had people say before, he kind of comes off a little arrogant.
Yeah.
And I go, no, it's confident, right? There's a humble confidence about him. He's still very humble. So I'll give you an example. Wherever he messes up, he does act in the integrity. But as an entrepreneur, you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
And I don't think we look at people and think they're flawless. It's how we respond when we make the mistake that's important, right?
I agree.
And the 2 times we've messed up, we owned it. We made the mistake, we fixed it, and we over-delivered. Ryan does the exact same thing. He operates from an area of that. And that takes humbleness to do.
I agree.
But so, if I was to describe him, I always describe him as humble, confident.
Yep. I agree 100%. He's confident in his abilities.
Yeah.
But I think people just aren't used to somebody that confident, so it comes off as arrogant.
Yeah,
right?
well, he must be arrogant if he's that confident. No, that's not true.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah. So pivoting.
Yeah.
What was it like working together, husband and wife? You guys were already married for how long before you started getting into business?
19 years.
19 years? Yeah. Okay. And so how did that affect your relationship? How did that, break everything down?
Well, I'll jump in because it's kind of funny. When he worked in corporate America, I used to tell him, there's no way I'd ever work for you. I could not work for you. You have such high expectations and demands on your employees and everyone and everything that you do. And then he gets sick. And it's like, okay, we spent literally 1 entire year not leaving each other's side because he couldn't. He physically could not walk away or be by himself or any of that. And it's like, if I could put up with you then, I'm sure I could do something like that again.
Yeah. I love it.
So that kind of gave me the encouragement. And then seeing all the things we had to go through. And we went through them together. So it was tough. I won't disagree. There were, many nights that were wondering if we would still make it or not together, but whether or not he was even going to live. So after that, it's like, okay, I'm never going to take another day for granted. I love spending every day with him. So it took me about 2.5, 3 years to actually quit my job teaching at a non-for-profit school, at a private school.
It was a Christian school.
Yeah. And after that, we haven't spent a day apart since.
I love it. And so how did your role progress? So where did you start and then where are you today?
Yeah, that's a funny story to me. So I'll start even back further. We got married really young. I was 19 when we got married. From there, we had kids right away. From there, I went right back to teaching school. So I hung out with teenagers at 23 and I did that for 17 years. And it's like, I don't feel like I have zero confidence in helping adults Although the funny part is adults are so much like teenagers, it's not even funny. So nothing really changed.
Yeah.
So at that point, he's like, okay, we're going to start this business. And I'm like, no one's going to listen to me. I have nothing to offer anyone. And he's like, that's not true. I'm like, okay, well, I'll have to find something. So I kind of found a love for myself in the processes and the procedures and honestly the accountability of what we do with companies. So I thoroughly enjoy that part, which made me then really dig in and learn. Like I read like I can't get enough of it because I want to continue to learn and educate myself to become better, to be able to, give that to our clients and things like that. So transitioning from teaching to what we do, it's honestly, I still feel like a teacher, just in a different realm and a different atmosphere. And I'm still hanging out with kids.
Yeah, just grown kids.
Just grown kids.
So here's the interesting thing. When people go from a position of employment to a position of ownership to a position of teaching to a position of coaching. So you got to understand, like when we walk in to work with a team, there's 3 things we're trying to do with them. One is facilitate their day, right? So somebody's got to keep us on track, on schedule, and facilitate the day. Second thing you have to do in that room is you have to teach. Third thing you have to do in that room is you have to coach, right? And so teaching, coaching, those things are important. And Susan did not have what was necessary at the time to coach. So she started off facilitating the room for us.
Got it.
She kept track of all the notes. She kept track of the follow-up. She kept doing on target. She has a whistle for me that's like, we call it the dog whistle. You can go ahead and do it if you want. Yeah. And so when I hear that in a session, it means I'm taking too long or I'm talking too long because she's keeping track of the time. Keep us on target. So that was something that we established early on. But then you move into like, she's starting to get knowledge. She's been in a couple hundred rooms with me. So now she can start teaching because knowledge allows you to teach. But coaching comes from experience. So Susan just, the last couple of years, has become one of our best coaches. You can't help over 1,700 businesses and not gain a ton of experience from their world.
I would hope so.
Yeah. And so right now she goes from facilitating to teaching to coaching. And so now she's very much a coach for us. Out of all our coaches, I could easily, her, Brandon, Austin, and there's some others with that we have on our team, but Susan's probably the most experienced coach we have. Some of the others have more experience in specific niches.
Yeah.
But from a business coaching perspective, I say she's probably our most experienced coach, right? And so I've seen her in action with other people. She does a phenomenal job working one-on-one with clients. But it's funny to ask that question, that transition from our very first client, driving to that client. I mean,
I was in tears.
She literally cried the whole way there.
Scared half to death.
I love it. Yeah.
So
no idea
she's like, I am not going to do. I don't know what to do. I'm like,
I'm not going to say anything, just so you know.
Just take notes. Just take notes.
At least she set expectations.
Right?
That's
I wanted to turn around and go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And most people don't know this. Like, to get her on a camera, I think the first time we recorded in 2016, and I think it was a Christmas message just to our clients. She cried through the whole podcast.
Absolutely.
So like it was like, I never to see her where she is today. She's definitely grown as a person and as a coach and as a mentor for people. So it's encouraging to see, and it's been a fun transition.
Love it. Yeah, and that's great. And I think one thing that stuck out to me too is you guys complement each other extremely well, right? And that's what, obviously in marriage, but then also in business, and we talk about it a lot with, like, you have the visionary, you have the integrator, and you guys kind of found that organically. But a lot of businesses where I see failure, sometimes there's either 2 visionaries or 2 integrators, and it doesn't end up working out. So can you guys speak to how you found that with like other businesses? Because I know you started off with EOS and then you moved into some of these other programs and then now creating your own kind of methodology. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple questions there, but like we started with EOS, then we moved into what we call the sharper process because we had to bring process to the table. Then from that we built, and it's actually interesting. I saw something happen for me the other day that was. It was such a aha moment for me. I had a guy call me from Virginia, and he said, I came to your workshop in 2016. He says, and he turned around and he says, I have built a over $10 million a year business. and it's much higher than that, but I'll leave it with there because I don't want to give his information away. But over $10 million a year. And he says, and I've used this Bible of mine to get there. And he turns around and he picks up my workbook called the Sharper Process.
Wow.
And he's on the Zoom screen. He's like holding it up and he's flipping the pages, thousands of notes on it. Yep. And he's just telling me how he's used that as the blueprint to getting where he is today. And I was just like, that's incredible. Like, you came to a 2-day teaching workshop where I don't coach in that workshop. Yeah. I just teach the principles, and he was able to take that principles and apply it and use it. Now he's grown so much and he wants to hire us to coach him, right? So it's interesting because I saw it come full circle. So the Sharper Process was our very first one. From that, we built a second operating system, and now our newest operating system is Rise. And Rise Business Framework is one of the most tactical operating systems I think that's out in the market. I don't think there's anything that touches it.
Yeah, I mean, even the stuff that you've created for Wealthy Business, like, it is the most thorough curriculum that I've ever seen. Yeah. Definitely in our coaching programs for sure. Yeah. And so it's impressive. And I think the thing with knowledge too, I think he went to your 2-day workshop, but he applied the knowledge and then he learned. And then that's the biggest, I think, step for a lot of the people listening too is actually just applying the knowledge and then iterating on that, understanding what you're going to see in terms of issues, mistakes, and then just keep it rolling. Yeah.
I'd say there's 3 things if you're, entrepreneurs and you're out there and you're like, how do I get to success? Yeah, it's really 3 things. It's focus first, follow one course until successful. Second is apply action to your knowledge. And third is accountability. Yeah. Like, you've got to have those 3 things. And if you do those, you're doing well. Now you can put other people in place and hold them accountable and then create focus in multiple niches, right? Like, that's how you build an ecosystem.
Yep.
Right.
And that's where we're at today is now, like, our struggle is making sure that we have somebody who's responsible for each one of these niches, because what happens is we have maybe 1 to 2 people who are focused on everything, and then some things don't get the attention that they might need. And you mentioned focus. We have a focus problem for sure, right? Because we launch so many new things that it's very easy for us to say, oh, we could make money doing that. We could make money doing this. This is a great idea. So there's no shortage of good ideas at Pineda Company. It's like, now it's up to me or Brian or whoever to say, you know what, Ryan, that's a great idea. Let's put it on the shelf and let's go focus on what we're doing right now, because that's what's going to generate the revenue today, right? And it doesn't take away from everything else that we're doing, which is, again, I'd rather have that problem than not have a shortage of good ideas or have issues with our core businesses. It's like, hey, we have too many good things that we could possibly do. Let's just focus on the ones that we're doing right now, which is great.
No, it's really good. You asked a question about like partnerships and how they stay healthy as well. And I think one of the things I always tell people is every partnership creates a culture, right? You and Ryan have a culture together. Every business unit you have here has a culture of its own. And those cultures get developed by 4 areas. The first area that develops them is position alignment. You and Ryan have to agree that you're in this, you respect the position he's in, and he respects the position you're in, and you validate each other in those positions. You talked about it with Susan and I. You said one of the things that you notice right away is how we complement each other in the position. And that's important. If you're going to have a good culture, you have to have position alignment. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to have the right person in the right seat. And then in our Wealthy Business, we talk about, like, tactically, how do you get the right person in the right seat? Not just cliche philosophy of it, like, but how do we actually get there, right? And then the second thing is we have to have people alignment. We have to align with them as a person, right? Like, values is very important. And if we don't know our values, we don't know their values, and we don't align in values, we could have a problem. You can have the wrong person sitting in the right seat, right? And you can have the right person sitting in the wrong seat. And if you have a combination of those, your culture is going to get affected. The third thing we have to have is purpose alignment. I guarantee you wouldn't be here if you didn't believe in Wealthy Kingdom.
Yep.
Right? Why? Because that's the purpose of it all. I was honored the other day. Ryan actually called me. We were talking either Saturday or Sunday. I think it was Saturday. And he asked me to be on the board for Wealthy Kingdom. So really excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not a paid position or anything, but it's a passion position, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing to advance the kingdom? And so that's purpose alignment.
And one note about kingdom too is it was initially going to be part of like the wealthy brands, but now we're just transitioning fully to like a nonprofit too, just because it should be, right? And so we're going through that entire process right now. So hopefully that'll be done in the next like 2-3 months. But when you mentioned, just purpose alignment, also just values alignment, that, you can enter into a partnership with the same values, but then as things progress, as things change, at some point, sometimes those things do fall out of alignment.
Sure.
And we've seen that with some of our partnerships. We've seen it happens all the time. So I think you have to do an audit every so often of, hey, where are we at? Are we still aligned in purpose, values, et cetera?
Should it happen every quarter? And here's why it should happen, because position alignment, right? Purpose alignment, value alignment, and the last one's goal alignment. Partnerships dissolve is goals, right? And sometimes those goals can affect whether or not somebody wants to stay in the position they're in anymore.
Yep.
Sometimes those goals can change purpose. Sometimes those goals could, depending on if somebody really wants to achieve them bad enough, they can sacrifice their own values, right? And so when they do those things, they don't want to align with us.
Yep.
And so it's important for us as entrepreneurs to protect those 4: position alignment, value alignment, purpose alignment, and goal alignment. Those 4 are so important. So whatever relationship you're in, right?
Yep.
Whether it's personal or professional, if you're not protecting those 4 areas, you're going to struggle, right? You're going to struggle in your relationships with people. And so that's one of the things we want to audit. We want to audit those regularly and making sure that we're protecting the culture personally and professionally.
So how would you do that in a professional environment? So you mentioned doing it quarterly.
Yep.
So what would the process look like for something to just get aligned?
It's funny, as a coach, I'll do it today and you guys won't even know it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I'm looking for those triggers that are showing me that we don't have alignment. And what happens a lot of times is in position alignment, we'll start with what we call the process ownership chart, and we'll look at it and we'll say, all right, do you still desire this position? Do you still have the behavioral traits necessary for the position? Have you grown the seat or grown with the seat? Do you have the skills to continue to grow with the seat, right? So we're measuring what we call the heart, the head, the hands, and the feet. And at some point, if somebody goes, I don't desire it anymore, they're no longer in the right position. It's going to affect our culture. So we're looking for that. It's one of the reasons why we review that process ownership chart and the organizational charts of the organization to see if those 4 things are still there, right? Next thing we're looking at is healthy conflict. Like, I'm going to mine for conflict in the session today. I'm going to poke the bear. Why?
I've seen it, yeah.
Because when I do that, if it's healthy response, then we have value alignment still. We still believe in each other. But when it's not healthy anymore and people start attacking, and we've seen it.
We have.
Right.
We're still seeing it, yeah.
And what happens is people are no longer in alignment with values. The next one we're looking at is purpose. I'm gonna straight up ask the team today, do we still believe in this purpose? And here's a bigger question. Do you see how your personal purpose will be achieved by helping the company achieve its purpose?
Yes.
And when people tell me no, like, well, no, I mean, I don't see how my personal purpose, I'm not here for my personal, but you should be.
Yep.
Because if your personal purpose cannot be achieved by helping the company you work for achieve its professional purpose, you shouldn't be there. Because you're going to go to work every day because you have to, not because you want to. And I don't want have to employees or partners. I want to employees and partners.
So how do you build a culture of want to employees? And is that just like start from the hiring process all the way to, how you run your day to day? But, like how can somebody who doesn't have that culture quite yet start instilling those things?
So, I mean, it starts in the interview process. So if we put somebody in the wrong seat, they're going to come to work and do it because they have to. If that's one of the reasons why we use tools like predictive index. I mean, I start with desire. One of the assessments we use is Find Your Mojo. Find Your Mojo is an assessment that tells me what creates your mojo, what gives you that burning desire to want to go do it, right? So that helps us measure desire, right? Am I putting you in a seat? You heard Susan talk about earlier. She's like, I love to learn, right? Why is that a thing for her? Because it's her number one mojo trait. So she is looking, whenever she sits in a new seat or does something new in life, she's looking to learn, right? So if I put you in a position where you're not learning, that's a problem. If I put you in a seat that you don't have the natural ability behavioral-wise to do, that's PI, what we call the head, then you're not going to love it. If I put you in a seat you don't have the skills to do, it's going to tire you out. If I put you in a seat that you don't have the ability to grow the seat or grow with the seat, then you're going to only do it because you have to, not because you want to. So that's why we start in the interview process to make sure you have those 4 areas, what we call the heart, the head, the hands, the feet. And that helps us measure potential of the person and their performance.
Got it.
Now, if I don't do that, then I am putting a have to employee in a seat, right? But if I reward you with those 4 areas by putting you in a seat that complements them, and then I start to look at it and go, do you have our values? Do you align with our purpose? Then I align your purpose with our purpose by asking you if it can be achieved. Now you start to get the emotional paycheck. And the emotional paycheck will cause you to be the want to employ, not the have to employ. And then if I complement all that with telling you how we are going to help you get challenged every day, show recognition, pay you comparably, because it's about that as well. You don't come to work for free. You come to work for 2 paychecks. One is financial, one is emotional. Where we do not deliver on the emotional side, put the person in the right seat and make sure they're the right person, that they have the right purpose, they align with our purpose, their purpose gets achieved, then they're only there for the financial. And that's a problem for me because I don't want 2 employees. I want have to people in my life. I'm sorry, say that backwards. I don't want have to people in my life. I want 2 people in my life. That's what I want. Why? Because if somebody is a want to person, their productivity will go up 34%. Just because they want to. They'll work harder. And that's what we want on our team. That's how we try to protect the culture. And that's how we start in the interview process to make sure we have that. Now, maintaining that is important. That's why when we do a strategic session like we're going to do it today, we're not just looking at, is the company smart? Is it making money? Is the process is dialed in? We're looking at healthy too. And in order to scale a business properly, to get it to where your 100% is, to rise it up to that, we are looking for healthy and smart to get there. So that's how we protect it.
Got it. Which is great. Yeah. And I think what we do pretty well over here too is we've got the hiring almost dialed in. Obviously, every now and then, I was talking about you prior to the show that we still have our issues here and there. But for the most part, the culture is very well protected, that everybody who's here has a common goal, has the same mission, and the second that somebody gets out of alignment, we notice it pretty quick because it sticks out, right? And so we want to preserve the culture that we have by doing the audits, checking in, making sure that everybody gets the emotional paycheck. I think we're really good at that, and of course the financials, that tends to come too. Great. So I think, how do you? And we kind of covered it, but for somebody who might not have the right people in the right seats right now, how do you audit the people that you currently have in your business and determine whether or not they're good fits to stay long-term as you scale and you try to restructure?
Yeah, and in our curriculum Rise, which powers wealthy business, we have what we call the 9-box system. And in the 9-box system, we're looking at the potential of the person and the performance of the person. And in those 9 box, depending on where the person is ranked, we rank in potential and below expectations, meets, and exceeds. And what we do is we look at the head and the feet. We call the head and feet, which is behavioral traits and their ability to grow the seat or grow with the seat, right? Because that's what the feet does for us. And so we look at those 2 areas and we rate them. Are they below expectations there, meets expectations, or exceeds? And if they are, in one of those areas, that's measuring their potential, right, with the company. The other area we're measuring is performance. We're looking at the heart and the hands, which is the desire to do it, and we're looking at their skills, their training. And so if they have a meets, exceeds, or in the one case below expectations, then that helps us determine what box they're in. From that, we can look at it and go, what do we need to do with them? If somebody is a 2 in performance and a 1 in potential, then we got to do a PIP. We got to do a potential improvement plan for them. If somebody's a 2 in potential, meets expectations, but a 1 in performance or below expectations, then we do a performance improvement plan.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
If somebody's a 3 in potential, they have all the behavioral traits in the world, they have all the potential in the world to get to the next level, but they're not performing, then we have to make sure we dial in our expectations for them, right? We have to document and hold them accountable to what we want them to perform towards. We can also have people that are a 1 in potential. Like the growing the seat, growing with the company, probably not going to happen for this person. But they perform, right? Maybe they don't even have the ideal PI for the seat, but they've done this for 10, 15 years, and they perform. They at least meet expectations. Then that's what we call a workhorse. That's somebody that will, that will continue to inspire and continue to meet their expectations with them to help them, sustain in that seat. But then we're looking for people that are core players. We're looking that would be somebody that's to or meets expectations and potential, somebody that's meets expectations and performance. But ultimately, these people can grow to what we call a 3-3, which is an all-star for that seat. So when you're evaluating your team, you want to evaluate the people in seats, just the seats.
Yep.
And if it's a rhyme for me, the heart, head, hands, and feet tell you if you're in the right seat. Right? So it's a rhyme. So that's what you want to do. You want to evaluate those 4 areas consistently.
Okay.
At least once a quarter do we sit down in our strategy sessions. We go, all right, do we have anybody that's below expectations in their potential? That means they have the wrong PI, they have the wrong behavioral traits, or you don't see them growing with the company. Maybe they're even degressing.
Yep.
Not progressing. And so the other area that we're looking to evaluate is how are they performing? Are they meeting the expectations of performance? Are they exceeding the expectations? Or in some cases, are they not meeting them at all?
Yep.
So we're evaluating every employee based on the seats they set in every quarter. And if we see somebody who's a 1-1, then we probably need to move on.
Yep.
If we see somebody who's a 2-1, then we want to improve that area. And so in our strategy sessions, we're creating a plan to either replace somebody or help them grow, right? I always tell people, leaders' jobs, managers' jobs, is to help people move. That's your job, to help them move. It's either move up or move out, right? But it's your job to move.
Yeah.
And so it's a chess game. It's always a chess game. And we want to see people growing. In business, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's no stagnant business.
Absolutely.
Complacency is cancer. You might as well just take the rest of the C, the words off the C, and just change it straight to business cancer, because complacency is a cancer to a business. So you're either growing or dying. You're never staying the same. And your employees are a big part of what your growth looks like. So we have to constantly evaluate that.
Absolutely. And one thing, you haven't said it today, but one thing that stuck out to me when we've had these meetings is, it's the manager's or the leader's job to protect the business, not to protect the employee.
Right.
And so every time I have to make an evaluation of, all right, do I keep this person? Where should I put them? It always kind of sits in the back of my head where I'm like, got to protect the business. They're not going to be a good fit anymore. It's time to either, like you said, move on or try to find them a new role within the organization, whatever it might be.
Yeah, if you have the right person in your organization and they're in the wrong seat, then find them a right seat.
Yeah.
You don't have to let them go.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. I've moved people around a lot. My son's worked for us for years, and he's sat in 3 different seats over the years.
Yep.
And we tried things, and it did work or didn't work. And it's like, you know what? He would be a superstar in this seat, and he's just meets expectations in this one. So let's move him to another seat. And that's not a bad thing. That's still helping them move.
Yeah, exactly. So we're almost at time, but let's pivot really quick. So we've talked a lot about people. Let's talk about processes a little bit. So how can somebody, I've heard you talk about, KPIs, when there's 2 KPIs that you guys typically focus on, right?
3.
So 3.
I'm sorry.
There's 4. Because I know there's key purpose indicators, key process indicators, and there's 2 that I'm going to let you guys bring up.
You want to talk about them?
Key profit and key performance.
There it is.
So the idea is to have every single person in our company responsible for a KPI and the timing with which the meeting that we look at. So we are making sure we're reviewing them and adjusting them on a regular basis. So starting from the top, the key purpose indicator. Visionary CEOs, typically the owner, is in charge of the key purpose indicator. We set that out for a 5 to 30 year goal. We look at that every single quarter and we adjust it annually. So it goes with the culture meeting along with your business. Then we come down to the key profit indicator. The COO, the integrator, the business unit leader, whatever you want to call that position, is responsible for the key profit indicator. We look at that every single month on our P&Ls. Pretty simple, pretty standard. We're going to adjust that every quarter because we don't want to adjust or shift strategy in the middle of a quarter. Might not be able to see the full results of your strategy if you're only you're going to change it once a month. So we don't want to do that.
We're guilty of that.
Yeah, everyone is, please. So then there's the key performance indicator. Key performance indicator we want our managers in charge of. The managers of each department are responsible for the performance of their departments. We would want to look at that every single week and make changes monthly. When we're not hitting that performance standard with which we expect, we're going to make changes with that monthly. Key process indicator, we're going to look at every single day. What is the job and the role and the duty of the employee that they're going to do every day that tells us the process is working? We're going to look at it daily and adjust it weekly if it's not working or meeting the expectations with which we want. So again, those KPIs all come from process. So we document our processes to pull out our key process indicators and our key performance, which then tells us how much money we're going to make to know how much profit we need, which then allows us to hit and actually reach our purpose. So we start from the top down. We want to identify our key purpose indicator. Then we need to know how much money we need to make to be able to hit that purpose indicator. We need to know how much, so the key profit indicator shows up. How does that make us perform every week? And how does that make us do our process every day? So we kind of measure down, or we build down and measure up.
And that's, I think, very different than how a lot of businesses operate. Before working with you guys, I only knew one KPI.
Sure.
Right? Like key process indicator, and that was it. And I think that's how a lot of businesses, unfortunately, operate. So it's a good spin on how businesses actually need to measure everything in the company, not just, hey, did you get your task done for the day? And there's a reason why those tasks are getting done.
What we find is if they don't measure that process indicator every day, they end up measuring it once a week. And by then it's too late. If you're going to wait 3 weeks to fix a metric that is red, again, we color code them. They are, exceeds expectations, meets expectations, or, not at all. They didn't meet expectations. So they're red, yellow, and green. When they are red, and if they're red for 3 weeks in a row and you're not making a change or not making, movement or action behind it, then we're losing the game. We're behind the game, especially if we're looking at a process indicator that should be looked at daily versus weekly. So,
and this is why it's important. We talked about people. We talked about alignment in people. And we talked about their purpose, their personal purpose. Javier, your purpose, personal purpose being achieved by helping the company achieve its purpose. This is why it's so important. Because if you can visually see how your personal purpose is being achieved by helping the company reach its purpose, and then we show you how this purpose creates this profit, that creates this performance, that creates this process, and you're responsible daily for this process being hit, then you visually can see if I don't do this every process every day, I'm not fulfilling purpose. And I don't fulfill purpose here, it's affecting my personal purpose.
Yes.
And so that's how we get want-to employees dialed in and increasing productivity and process, is because they can see how their personal purpose is being achieved by helping the company achieve its purpose of a company that drives the profits of the company, that drives the performance of the company, that drives your daily number. And then you hit that daily number and it supports that purpose back up.
Love it.
Right? So it's build down and measure up. And when it's powerful, and here's where companies lose, and one of the reasons they don't do it is they don't take time to build the emotional paycheck and make sure the employee can see how their personal purpose is being achieved with every widget they put in the box.
That is actually where we'll leave it because we are right at time, so we got to keep things rolling. But thank you so much. I'm excited for our meetings. And if you guys like what you're hearing, you can go to either Wealthy Business, get the Spark Notes version, or if you ever want to get coached by these two wonderful people, you can go to, is it sharperbusinesssolutions.com?
Sharperbusiness.com.
Sharperbusiness.com. Yep. And thanks again, and we'll wrap it up.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks,
guys.